All right, what's going on, everybody? I want to welcome you back to another episode of the Spring Legion Podcast. My name's Hunter Ferry here, and today I'm with you. Today I'm with you with my brother Chase, who is here. We're sealsless, so to speak. Some of these episodes we're going to kind of get into some opportune recording times that we're going to have to kind of take advantage of. And aligning 3 schedules is a lot more difficult than aligning 2 schedules. So Chase was able to join me today. And we're going to dive into a couple of stories and a couple, I wouldn't call it just teachings, but stuff we've learned, so to speak, as far as in the realm of public land turkey hunting. So that's a fun topic to talk about. Public land turkey hunting is it's an event in itself, I guess you would say. There's a difference in public and private. At the end of the day, a turkey's a turkey, and they're very smart. Regardless of where you hunt them or how you hunt them, I think, I'll be the first to say some of the easiest turkey hunts I've been on are the smoothest, so to say. None of them are easy, but the smoothest turkey hunts I've been on have been on public land, and some of the most difficult birds I've ever hunted have been on private land. Mm-hmm. Generally, that's not the case, though, just because, it's kind of, I would call it an abnormality to say you just strike out and just go to waxing them on some public land, especially in the South, where they are hunted day in, day out for at least the length of the season. And some of the private land, there's some downfalls to closed gates and a lot of folks trying to hunt the same 3 turkeys too. So we're going to dive in a little bit of scouting, a little bit of finding them, and a little bit of a really cool story that I'm really looking forward to diving into with Chase, because this was the first episode, so to speak. This was the first video we put on the YouTube channel of an actual hunt that we filmed with the intentions of putting it on there. And it happened to really capture what Spring Legion is all about, what it was created for, the stuff that's not always seen, and is something that's very hard to illustrate without exactly what Chase was able to illustrate with the, what was it, a GoPro maybe?
Yeah, just that little camera.
Yeah, just a little. Was it Sony?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, Chase has got a little stick-up camera. He's talked me into getting one, kind of like it. It really the moments of a turkey slipping in on you quietly. It doesn't have a bunch of footage of him coming in, strutting and looking all pretty, which we love and would not pass up in a heartbeat.
Right.
But more times than not, hunting them down here, especially hunting them on some public land, they're going to slip in without you knowing it. They're not going to act anything traditional at all. They're going to throw a wrench at every chance they get, and they're going to hit you with nothing but curveballs. And when they kind of slip in, pulling in around on you and come around to the side that you're least expecting and hammer 35 yards behind you, that's what gets your heart racing, or mine at least, and I'm sure the same for yours.
Oh, yeah.
I would much rather that than watching one strut through an open field and, the iridescence, popping sheen and all kinds of shine coming off of him and gobbling all the way in. I live for the suspenseful moments of not knowing what's about to happen. That's what kind of makes me tick, I guess, in the springtime. I get it. Other folks, are differently wired and would rather watch one come in and strut, and some would rather them come in and beat up a decoy, and some would, rather just deer hunt them and shoot them, appreciate the outdoors and wait, and one walks up, it walks up. If not, it's still a good hunt. I mean, I ain't got nothing against any of those. That's just, I would much rather kind of duke it out with him and then him pull a fast one on me, and, that's what just makes my nerves get up, It's a feeling that it's kind of hard to explain, but I know most of y'all know what we're talking about. But we'll dive into that. If you want to just kind of dive into the story first, Chase, and then towards the end of the episode, I'll chip in. I got plenty of public land stories. We ain't gonna dive into all of them,
right. Well, I mean, first off, this year was one of the first years of our little piece of private didn't have a lot of turkeys on it, or not necessarily a lot of turkeys. It never has a lot of turkeys.
I was about to say.
we may have one. We may have one of the neighbors. We may have one in the area, but that's about it. So living up here, an hour away from that place,
mm-hmm.
I kind of wanted to venture out to some public and try some new things, because as you know, as well as a lot of people know, I hadn't hunted a lot of public in my day because I've been a weekend hunter, and
right.
I'd attempted it 2 or 3 times and got beat to the gate and, kind of wrote it off for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd hunted a lot with other people on public ground, but not solo hunts.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of was a little nervous of it, I guess. A little timid of public land by myself. And
which a lot of folks are.
Right. So
I was, at least when I was first.
Yeah, so
having to do it.
But it turned out it was well worth biting the bullet and going, kind of thing. But the only times I'd hunted public, or not the only times, but majority of the times I'd hunted public was with you, out of state and whatnot, and to jump into a Mississippi block of public, it was pretty nerve wracking for me at first. But I quit my day job. I had time on my hands. I'd set aside to do this year, pretty hard, and so after NWTF, every morning, just about, maybe missed 4 mornings between, what was that, February 20th?
Yeah.
And the opener, I went to this piece of public just every morning almost, and 90% of the time, never got out of the truck, off the blacktop. Stayed at a distance where I could hear, just see if one gobbled. And if I heard one gobble, I went home. If I didn't hear one gobble, I went to another area and hooted 5 or 6 times. Most mornings I didn't hear one gobble.
Yeah.
But the first day I went, I heard one gobble, which was February 21st
you
or 2nd.
Called me and told me.
Yeah, I was like, oh, goodness.
Oh, well, okay.
It was just early for them. Yeah. But I
might have heard one or two in a lot of different mornings listening that early, and especially with any kind of purpose in the gobble, but I was like, all right. Dude.
Yeah, and he hammered for 20 minutes.
Yeah,
so I was like, this is good. Yeah. So I think that kind of calmed my nerves.
Excited you a
little
bit.
I was excited from being in Nashville at NWTF, and had the full kickstart had happened, and it was just like I wasn't even trying to go listen every morning, but I would wake up instantly at 4:45 and just knew I could get there for daylight. One of them things I know that it's gonna. I'm going to be aggravated if I wake up. If I roll back over and wake up at 9 or 10, I'm going to be aggravated with myself. So, kick started my day with that just about every day, except for a few. And really about, I don't know, not couple weeks. It wasn't but 3 or 4 weeks in between there and opener probably. What would you say? 3 weeks?
3.5, 4.
Yeah. So about week 2, I stopped hearing gobbles.
Yeah.
I wasn't pushing in there. I wasn't bumping on. Some other people may have been. I don't know, coming in from other areas or later in the day. I don't know. But I never saw another person. So that made me feel a lot better. No one else has hit this back corner or whatever the section I'm on, blah, blah, blah. So I felt good about it. Didn't even really rush to a gate. Didn't get there at 2 a.m., nothing like that. Got there right at daylight. Meant to, but didn't mean to get there right at daylight, but ended up getting there right at daylight opening morning. But let me backpedal a little bit. I had scouted a lot on foot in the evenings, also on both these places. Tip back in there, just slipping when turkeys ain't really up to nothing kind of deal, and had seen a track or two here and there, and never really found just hardcore sign like there's a mess of turkeys in this place.
Yeah.
But I knew there was one goblin in February and had heard him on one side of the road versus the other side of the road a few times, and had kind of, as far as prettiness goes, I'd found another spot away from all this. And or across a road. It was close, but across the road. So opening morning rolls around. I get out there 30 minutes before daylight, risked it all, I guess,
Bold.
Yeah. And I meant to get out there earlier, but just didn't. And it's kind of it's kind of good that it worked out that way, I guess. Because I got there, I pulled in the gate or whatever, or up to the gate, and I was starting to get my stuff together. Of course, it's not together at all, as it normally is on every day we go hunting. But you got to find a battery, you got to find a shell, you got to find something that you. And the first hunt of the year is always just scramble. Yes, because ain't nothing in its usual spot. It ain't found its usual spot yet. It doesn't have a usual spot, so it's all piled up in the back seat. So I'm going through my stuff, and I kind of glance down the road, and I see a dome light, or not a dome light, inside. I guess it's a dome light, cargo light, whatever.
Cargo.
I don't know. an inside light in your truck.
Yeah.
Click on. And I was like, what's that glowing down there? Somebody opened their door.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, dang it, you know, why are they not parked at the gate? There's, you know, a few gates right here on this strip of road that you could park on, and they don't need any gates. They just pulled off the side. And I mean, pulled off the side. They're like up against the fence, like pulled off the side. Like you could fit 2 more trucks between them and the blacktop, like and around the curve from everything. And I'm like, what? You know, to each their own, but like, what the heck? So like, I wanted to walk down. I walked down there just to see if they were hunting. You know, I didn't know if it was somebody just pulled over, broke down.
You don't want to do is leave and meet somebody.
And I walked down there, and it was some younger kids that they were leaving for the beach at 8:30. And I'm like,
awesome,
great, all right, you know, that's cool, whatever.
Public land.
Well, where are y'all go? You know, what side of the road are y'all going on? Was all I asked. And they were generous. They kind of said, well, we're going to go on this side, and we're going to hit this corner of the place or whatever. You know, they kind of showed me a pin of where they'd like to go, and I'd be dogged if that wasn't exactly where I wanted to go. And so I was like, well, you know, that's fine. And they said, well, you know, we're going to leave by 8 or 8:30, so, you know, you're welcome to come on over here if you don't hear a shoot. I'm like, goodness. You know, it is what it is, but I appreciate it. I ain't going to get in y'all's way. I'm just going to tip across the road and, you know, go on this other side. It's, you know, public too. I might as well just give it a shot. You know, it ain't no telling. And so I was kind of almost scrambling a little bit more, but almost bummed out a little bit at the same time. Like, I knew this junk was going to happen and blah, blah, blah. And so got, you know, a little discouraged, and I was like, you know, I'm gonna have a rough year. This is how it's gonna kick off. This is how it's gonna be, and you know, really just kind of thought about a lot there for a moment, and I actually didn't get out until it started cracking daylight. I got back in my truck for a minute, and you know, got everything together, and took my time from then on out. I wasn't rushing nothing. I was like, I ain't got nothing to rush to, and keep in mind that area they were going to. I hadn't heard a turkey gobble in 2 weeks back there.
Yeah.
So like I wasn't
You're still banking on something from a while back.
Yeah, that's the last gobble I'd heard was 2 weeks prior to this, and so I'm thinking, you know, what, you know, maybe there's a turkey right there, maybe there's not. At this point, I was playing a real game of chance at this, you know, spot, and just once I heard one bird gobble, I just stayed there. I didn't keep mobile, and that's something I learned is, you know, you got to keep mobile a lot more. So this year I'm going to do it with a lot more keep mobile.
I mean,
keep moving, keep
not a race to get to him, but you know, you got to understand that
he will move.
Yeah, he moves. He
between
might move.
February 25th and you know, opener, he's gonna move some. But anyway, so you know, I get all my stuff together. Finally, eventually, you know, figure out how I'm gonna want to hook up cameras and things like that, because that's a new ball game in itself, and you know, trying to double check everything, make sure everything's good, and start tipping down the little logging path or whatever, 4-wheeler trail, and I don't know, I get in there a couple 100 yards, and I remember kind of sitting there and just stopping for a second, and I finally hoot, and I'm like, or nothing, you know, kind of, I'm like, yeah, I figured that.
About right.
And then make it another 50 or 60 yards, I guess, and that's just how I hunt a lot. I mean, I'm just hunting normal at this point. It's opener, you know, I talked to you a long time the night before trying to figure out a game plan, and then everything went to, you know,
that's how it works.
Whatever you want to call it, all at once, you know. So I'm like, I'm going to have to scratch off everything on the list of expected and go with just turkey hunt. And so I just kept slipping, you know, 50 yards at a time would hoot and see, and I finally hooted, and I was like, that sounded kind of like one. And then I, you know, stayed still for a second and hit it one more time. And sure enough, he turned on that limb towards me at that point or something. And I was like, that was 100% a gobble. Like, we're in a ball game. We got a turkey gobbling. And I remember going down, you know, at that point, I'm like, all right, it's on. So I hear that one was kind of far off. And then so on and so forth. And it's in the video pretty decent, I think. Majority of all this is going to be in the video. But I hoot again, and I hear a second bird closer. Maybe I heard the closer bird first, and then heard the further one. But it was two turkeys, so I'm like, heck yeah, you know, this one don't pan out. I got a second, my backup. I'm in between two or something like that. Like I'm in a good spot. I feel confident. But right when I went to turn up a road to like cut some distance on him, I stop and hoot one more time, and he gobbles, and then I hear a single hoot, just oh. I'm like, that didn't necessarily sound like an owl.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, I got company, I think. So I totally replanned my map and walked back down the road a couple hundred yards and dive in, and I wasn't 100% it was somebody else, but I felt like it.
Yeah.
There was a chance that wasn't an owl, and it really made me rethink. I was about to walk down an open. I don't know. It looked like a pipeline, but it's just a little four-wheel trail.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, it's wide. I would have 100% gotten busted if I would have. Now knowing where that turkey was, and the game plan I had, I would have 100% busted him off the limb.
Yeah.
And all this stuff. So, thank goodness I heard that questionable owl hoot. And so I start slipping through the woods, 2 to 3 steps at a time. Finally, I can tell where that turkey is. I can tell there's another bird gobbled maybe 4 times the whole time. And in my mind, one of them's a dominant bird. One of them's, a fired up young. One of them's either an old bird by himself, and the other one's a young bird with all the hens, or, the boss hog, whatever you want to call it. And, or the one that's further away is like a jake or something that's been getting his butt whooped, or a less dominant bird, I assume, because I heard some hens at that point. All that, that's just me thinking. Things that are going, I don't know that by any means, but that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, where do I need to set up from, to possibly, if this one don't work, I can get up and move to that one without bumping the other ones. All these things are running through my head. And I ended up busting a hen off the limb. I'm assuming it was a turkey off the limb. And I'm like, uh-oh, we in a bind. And really stopped for a second and listened. That turkey gobbled, and I'm like, he's a lot closer than I think he is. It's like, I need to sit down. So I slip up to the next tree and plop down, and I'm not in the best spot. I got palmettos out there about 50 yards. He can see me. I can't see him, past there to see what he's doing. I'm trying to think. Let's see it. I think a hen pitches down 20 yards from me, like real close, right beside me. I'd set up right beside a group of hens, and I'm assuming that's his hens. He knew they were there, so I'm like, this may work out. Well, of course, they instantly run directly at him, away from me. They didn't spook. They just went straight to him. And I'm like, all right, this is going to be tougher than I'd like. It's going to be a real ball game here. And he's out there, I don't know, 150 yards, maybe gobbling on a limb. I can tell he hits the ground. And, I mean, he gobbles a lot. I mean, you've seen the video, right?
Yeah, right. Especially the ending part. I don't remember much from the beginning.
Well, I mean, he gobbled a lot. I, overcalled a lot per usual. And all,
Chase likes to lay on.
Oh, I call a lot, and there's a lot of times like that's something I've learned with these videos is like I've learned how much I do call because I'll just blank out and I'm just I'll go after it, but it works.
Yeah, I mean sometimes
certain ways I hunt, and I alter my hunts around that kind of, or I hunt differently than you do, and we've hit on that one time, a few times before, and I like to just be a lot more vocal with them, and sometimes it works, sometimes it ruins the morning, but it all depends on the turkey. That's all it boils down to either way. You're never going to know. Yeah. So, very responsive turkey. He ended up coming in about 50. I caught a few glimpses of him through some palmettos and stuff, and I don't remember what it was, but I got a feeling there was something behind me. Like I'd heard something walk in, or just, felt like I heard something, was convincing myself I didn't, couldn't turn around because those birds are 50 yards in front of me, and I know they can see me and I can't see them, at times. And I'm steadily calling. I should have just shut up there, and something changed with the hens that he was with, and one of them sprinted directly at me. And it was right after I thought I'd heard something behind me. No, I heard one putt or cluck behind me, just pop one time. And I still don't know what that turkey was because, I mean, I obviously couldn't turn around. It was real close behind me. And it was weird because those hens that were with that other longbeard instantly single file line ran to me and just started popping. Two of them popped out of the palmettos 15 yards from me, about to run me over, and they saw me. I mean, just because I was in their face. I mean, there wasn't no hiding from that one, And so they ventured off, and that gobbler went with them. Shut up. He knew something was up with the way the hens ran back to him or whatever. And, I'm sitting there, and I'm really bummed at this point because that bird went silent. I don't know if he saw me too, if the hens convinced him. I mean, I'm sure the hens reacting to seeing me. Obviously, he knew what was up, and he went silent. But, looking back on it, there's some other thoughts that I'll hit in a minute. But, as the video shows, I turned it to myself, and I'm sitting there just kind of running through what the heck do I do now kind of deal. I'm looking at maps. I'm trying to think of where that other turkey was, trying to think back the last time I heard him and where he might have been from where I'm sitting now versus where I've heard him last or whatever it may have been. Because once I sat down, I think he only gobbled one more time, maybe, if that. He'd only gobbled 3 or 4 times that whole morning. So, I didn't have a good pin on him of where he was. And I had not scouted this side very much. I'd scouted the other side of the road, prior to this. So I didn't really know what was past where I was because that was about as far as I'd ever tipped in there.
Yeah.
On my afternoon walks or whatever that I did once on the side of the road, or this side of the road. So I'm sitting there trying to figure it out and blah, blah, blah. And everything like that's going on. And it's funny because, I got my mask halfway down and stuff like that. And there was, what was it? Someone that questionable owl who came to life.
Oh yeah.
And cut real hard on a box call or something. But props to that guy because he sounded good. Because I was like, I don't know if that's a person or a turkey, but the volume of it, I was like, that's got to be a person trying to just strike one up back again. And I say in the video, that's either a person or I can't tell if that's a hen or a person about that time. Pow! I mean, right there on me. Mm-hmm. And, you can see it. It makes me jump. It totally surprised me to the max. And, that's one of them feelings that, you don't understand it till this happened to you at all, so.
You're exactly right.
I didn't hear him drumming. I didn't hear footsteps. I didn't hear a yelp. I didn't hear nothing. I just full-blown gobble in my ear.
Many turkeys are in the world. There definitely ain't one behind me right now.
No, not a chance. And just, it hit me. And I look over my left shoulder. It took me a little while to find him. He was out there 35 yards, but it's thick behind me, a little bit thicker than it was in front of me. So I'm like, what? Where is this turkey? When they gobble that close to you, and behind you, you don't know if he's over your right shoulder, left shoulder, what.
I think I hit on that not long ago. One gobble close and unexpected, and I almost had to rethink in my mind, did I hear a gobble or did I just make that, I can't even pinpoint a side of my body that it came from at this point. If it happened again, I'd be good.
Yeah.
I'd be having my ears out kind of listening, but,
just going off that solo one.
You try to replay it in your mind, you're like,
yeah. Did that really happen, or am I just...
Where did it come from if it did? And
yeah.
Did it scare me, or is it actually that close? Or
right.
Because then you don't know where to look or where to turn.
Oh, no, it's a predicament, to say the least.
Your heart's racing 90 to nothing.
Yeah, it was one of those, feel like he's breathing down your neck kind of situations, and you don't know what to do. And so I don't remember if my gun was in my lap. At one point it may have been halfway on my shoulder, but I had to figure all that out real quick. And I'm like, do I try and move a and at this point I thought about camera for a second, like, sorry. That's all. I thought about it for about a half a second, and I went, it is what it is. It'll be how it is. And finally located the bird, what felt like 10 minutes later, but was about a minute later.
Because you just kind of reached up. And
I just
reached over your shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
So he picked right, I guess.
He was definitely a little further behind. Yeah, he was behind me to over my left shoulder,
Mm-hmm.
which is great.
Thank God.
Yeah, thank goodness he wasn't over my right shoulder because I'm right-handed. That would have been a real predicament
You think
all
you
at
in
once.
a situation.
You really in one when you can't turn. But yeah, I think I yelped a few times just to get him to kind of slow down. He was kind of on minding his own business, walking around. He had finally slipped up there enough that hen should be here, and he hadn't heard me call in a while. And when he heard that other turkey call, I guess he thought that was me or whatever, one of the turkeys that was in that area, and hammered. And I yelped a few times. He about didn't pay me no attention. Like he was just like, all right, just making sure you're still over here. And saw an opportunity, shot him, and couldn't believe it by any means. I mean, it was still like 7:30 that morning. It had just broke the sun. The sun had just broke the clouds a little bit, and I was like, man, ain't no way this just happened like that. So, I mean, it was one of the most memorable, like weirdly memorable hunts I've had, just because it all went exactly how you could ever imagine wanting one to go. Just from scaring you, just from the not knowing what you're about to do, and then I mean, luck changing on a dime. Just all in 1 second, everything changed. Just emotional roller coaster, I guess. Which is how most of them are.
Just make it fun.
Yeah,
but like I said, I always say, the tide's gonna turn. For the good and for the bad. But when things ain't going your way, I'm a little more opportunistic, optimistic, so to speak, because the tide's going to turn when stuff's not going great, when it's not going your way, and the turkey voodoo is all up on you pretty much.
Right.
You just got to be there when it turns. If you're there when it turns, you're good. But
Yeah.
the folks who pack up and leave and get pissed off and walk out and go home. That turkey would have probably been there, 30 minutes after your last call, regardless. You'd have just been halfway to Buc-ee's or somewhere.
Right. So
our town's not big enough to have a Buc-ee's. I don't know why I said that.
We don't have a Buc-ee's.
I was still in Georgia at the time.
Yeah, you were in Georgia.
Calhoun had a Buc-ee's with big shots.
I forgot y'all had a Buc-ee's.
Yeah, I only went like twice.
Yeah, I've only been to one time, I think. Anyways.
That was one too many.
Yeah, I don't know. It's cool, but not that cool to me. Anyways, I'm more of a Casey's guy.
I like me some Casey's.
Yeah, Casey's is the way to go. And we don't have those down here at all.
We used to.
Really? I do not remember.
No, sorry. This was Stuckey's.
Yeah, we had Stuckey's.
I ain't dissing Stuckey's either. I know there's a Stuckey's down 49 in Hattiesburg, and there used to be one in Gallman off of 55.
It got tore down.
Yeah, I know one of them did.
Like
the one in
year.
Gallman?
Yeah, it got demolished.
I thought it did.
Anyway,
anyways,
that's our gas station rant. Or not rant, but
yeah, back to just being there when the tide turns. And because you called me.
Right.
I didn't answer. I was still in Georgia. I was probably asleep or feeding a baby or something.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd be working on. Was it probably a Saturday?
Nah.
Wednesday.
Let's see. What day did we go to the Delta? We went. I think it was a Wednesday or Thursday.
Yeah.
It was opening day, but I don't remember if it was Wednesday or Thursday.
Wednesday.
I
don't know.
Yeah.
But no, I had a missed call from you, and I think you sent me a picture. You sent me a text, and hadn't followed through on it or something. So whenever I looked at my phone, whether I woke up or whether I got a break from doing whatever I was doing, I remember looking at it, and it had been a little while since you sent it. Snapchat maybe, text, picture of some kind, but it was about folks beating you to your spot. And I was like, God,
Yeah.
I just didn't want that to happen because I knew that was probably going to happen soon, but I know you were just getting into it. And I try to kind of ease your mind a little bit like that don't happen every time. You just got to have some plan B's and C's and all the way to G's and you'll be all right.
And I had plan A and that was it.
But don't bank on plan A by all means.
Yeah. And that's
and
all.
I kind of knew you didn't come up with a plan B. I'm like, all right, he listened to plan A a lot, but I guess he's pretty confident. Ain't nobody else know about this spot off the blacktop with the gate.
Yeah.
But so that happened. I was kind of like, I was bummed because I didn't know at that time you killed one.
Right.
And then I wound up finding out, and I was like, no way, because I thought maybe you went somewhere. Somebody said, well, come hunt my place. Or something. I'm like, I didn't think you had. Branched off and went and found another one, but
man,
you didn't hear a shot across the road.
No,
You
no,
know?
them boys were gone by the time I got there, and I was there before 8:30.
Yeah.
So they must have called it quits real
Right.
early. And it was funny. I don't know if them boys were supposed to be there or not, because when I
Yeah.
walked up to them, yeah, it's just you, just you. I'm like, it was just me. Who'd you think it was? I just maybe a game warden or something. I don't know. I'm like, I'm not asking questions.
Right.
Where y'all hunting?
Yeah.
You know. I don't know what them boys were up. I don't know if they were supposed to be driving that truck.
They might
Like
not
they
have
were young
been, you
enough.
know.
They may have been 15 or something and just tipped down the
Yeah,
road,
probably, yeah.
doing this gravel road or whatnot.
Which I've been that kid before, just
Yeah.
going to hunt and then going to the spring break and stuff.
Right.
And wanting to just an excuse to hunt. They probably ain't slept all night and
No.
camped out on the spot. And if
Yeah,
I had to guess, they didn't know a turkey was there.
No.
It's just bad luck.
Yeah. It just and it was good luck by the end of it. You know, it really, because I guarantee if them boys wouldn't have been parked on that side of the road, I would have gone in there and I gotten skunked and I would have gone home at 9 a.m.
You might not have hunted much more public land after that.
Period. Yeah,
Yeah.
it totally changed my year. way of going about the year. But I mean, it worked out, and that was a big. You can say old, whatever, but
Mm-hmm.
he was a man.
Yeah, he was up
had,
in Palmettos. He had some spurs on him.
He had some spurs. He had a good beard, and probably one of the bigger turkeys I've killed in a very long time. I mean, I don't really remember exactly what the numbers were, but he was a good turkey and a heavy turkey. I mean, he full mature bird, and the way he acted, that wasn't his first go round.
Oh yeah, no.
Coming in and gobbling one time, and all that, and I was just like, you can't draw one up like what I just witnessed.
And I was so pumped that you got it on film, because I mean,
yeah,
that's so hard to do. Not saying just filming and turkey hunting is very hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
But being able to explain exactly what that video, that 30 seconds maybe video,
right,
contains, just illustrates mentally everything we try to, in however many 85 different episodes we've tried to talk about it on this thing.
right.
If you never experience it, you really just can't. You can't understand it completely without being there, but it's really hard to even kind of get on the same page without just seeing what we're talking about. Like,
yeah.
Obviously you never know where they're at, and they gobble, and then you find out. But it's different when you've written them off in your head.
Right.
When you've said it's
when
over,
you're going to Plan B at this point.
Right. And that's a good situation to kind of hit on, of sitting where you're at for an extra 10 or 15 minutes. A lot of old pro style kind of hunting folks say, kind of a rule of thumb is pack up your vest, go to get up, but don't get up for 10 more minutes.
Right.
But don't make a sound, because I mean, and I'm a believer in it. I'll do it too, especially on a pressured area, public or private. If it's pressured, anything that you can do that's different is going to benefit you, and then a lot of that difference is going to be not doing anything, because pressure is doing something.
Right.
So if you're not doing anything, that's much less likely a person or a human coming in there, or a bunch of 15-year-olds hunting before the beach.
Right. And that is a big key to hit on that hunt. Like if I wouldn't have carried that camera with me,
right?
I was sitting there trying to figure out what to. Okay, well, we didn't see turkey, so I'm trying to think about kind of going about it more than I would normally, go into it, try and say what I'm about to do or something. I'm just trying to figure out filming a turkey hunt. We don't know what the heck we're doing. No. So, I'm sitting there trying to fool with the camera and whatnot and look at the, I was like, I'm going to take a second, look at the map. Yeah. And I normally am not that guy to take a second and look at a map. I'm normally like, I'll go walk up there and find out, if it's in walking distance. So, in a weird way, having that camera there kept me sitting there long enough for that turkey to finally look for that hen enough. And, I mean, just perfect alignment of the stars that guy called or whatever. I did find out it was a guy. And after watching the video, I got a DM from him. And he asked me 2 questions. He said, you ain't got to answer it. Just curious. And he named the name of the road.
Yeah.
And
at this WMA.
Yeah. It took me for a little while to respond to him.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know how to go about this, but I figured out we had some mutual friends, and I'm like, I feel comfortable, and most every time I'm cool with talking about it. I'm not very. Yeah. I'm not
we ain't
one of
gonna
those
broadcast it to 300,000 listeners or something, but
right. But he asked me to react. he just wanted to put some closure to his story.
Yeah.
And I was like, if I can talk to him about this, like, that'd be really cool, see his perspective of it. And, ended up, he was had some mutual friends, and I told him, you're right. Ended up chit-chatting back and forth, blah, blah, blah. And he ended up telling me, like, he had a test or something that morning, and he was having to leave those gobbling turkeys. And he was, kind of last praying it. He was trying to locate where that bird had gone since he had shut up for 10 or 15 minutes, and he was packing up and everything, and he, highballed it one time, and that turkey gobbled, and he was like, all right, that's where he's at. And he put his call back in his vest. About that time, boom, and he said, man, my heart sank. Just, he thought, he didn't know there was 2 turkeys in there. Yeah. So, like, I talked with him, and he ended up, I think, getting one in there.
Really?
A couple days later, I think he ended up getting on that other bird that was left in there, and blah, or whatever it may have been. I need to check back in with him and catch back up with him. But
so he was a guy that hit the box call as a prayer and made him gobble. And
luckily, I was sitting in gun range where he.
You were 30-something yards from him when he gobbled.
Yeah, 30, 35.
No idea
max.
how long he's been there.
Well, thinking back on it,
you heard something.
So I heard, I think, a putt or something behind me, and then those hens instantly ran directly. It was. I'm dead center between where the hens are standing with another gobbler, and where that putt happened. And I assumed at the time that was the hen that I had bumped off the limb trying to find the group.
It makes sense.
But I don't know if it was a, gobbler, caulk, yelp, whatever.
Yeah.
It was a turkey noise, and I was like one's 15 feet behind me. Like, it was close. I remember that. And playing it back in my head, I almost bet that was that longbeard coming up there behind me, and he had slipped into 10 yards, 15 yards behind me.
Looking for a hen.
And looked for that hen and clucked one time, and those hens ran up to him and spooked off, and he was just kind of like, I'm kind of like a big deal, dude. They're just going to stand there. They didn't see it. They know something may not be quite right.
Because he obviously drifted off a little bit.
He had drifted back, yeah.
Because you had talked to the camera and stuff. If he was 10 yards behind you still, he
would have seen that.
Oh, yeah, you'd have known it.
But, I was sitting on a bigger tree.
If
he was directly behind me, he may have missed me somehow, or just not seen enough to run off.
But what if you would have called?
Oh, yeah. He probably would have done something.
If you would have sent a random prayer about 15 minutes before that, he would not have probably even put it. He'd have looked at you and went,
nope.
Because I promise you ain't the first person he's seen over the slate call.
Yeah. So, that's all I'm going to assume is those hens were running to him, or they, whatever the other turkey was, and that's what blew up my whole morning. But I never heard that turkey run off, never heard steps behind me. So, like, when it putted, I was expecting to hear, like running, and it just putted and never moved. And so that's a lot of the reason why I didn't stand up either. I was like, I kind of don't know where that turkey went.
It makes another noise.
Yeah, I kind of want to hear something. I know my morning's kind of botched, but I'd like to know what's going on, with all that.
But funny how it works out.
It's crazy how it works out, and kicked off my season in a good note.
Yeah,
which is
changed real quick.
Kind of unusual. Yeah. So over the last few years, it's been tough to hunt much. So this year I was planning to hunt a lot, and I knew I wanted to hunt on that place until I killed one, and I remember thinking after I killed one, I'm like, well, what do I do now?
Yeah.
And I hunted with seals, and the next day or day after, that was the next day we went up to the Delta. So I was kind of like, I knew there was another turkey in there. I'm like, yep, y'all sure y'all need a cameraman?
Right.
Like, I know there's 2 longbeards in here.
There's a different type of pressure on your mind at night, knowing that anybody can go hunt this turkey that you know is there.
I was, I was super thankful for the one I killed, but it shows you still kind of, you're like, all right, next one, kind of at the same time. Let's keep rolling, keep the good vibes going, and
you better ride the wave while you can ride it.
Right,
it'll always kind of hit the shore eventually, and you're gonna be stuck on it regardless.
And the other guy, he had come in from he had walked a mile, like, to get back there. He knew these birds were there and stuff, and I almost felt bad. Like, at one point I was like, I just went in there on a wing and a prayer, and, had no idea there was turkeys in there, and, luckily, but unfortunately to you, luckily to me, it worked out, and
which is awesome.
Right. So I'm glad there was another turkey in there after that happened, because I don't want to step on nobody's toes. I don't want nobody stepping on my toes. I try not to. If I hear a truck or see a truck, I'm one that keeps moving. I ain't gonna bust up in there with nobody, and that's just kind of understand rule, common courtesy. I know I've had people walk in on me, and stuff like that, and it's unfortunate, but if you're gonna have it on public land at this point, I kind of understand that, because we hunted a lot of public land this year, and went into a lot more places this year than I ever would have if that wouldn't have been the outcome probably that day. If that situation wouldn't have happened, it woke me up a lot more mornings that I probably didn't want to wake up, or wouldn't normally woke up. If it's raining or whatever, I went, and I'm normally not just going to do that. I may wait till 1 o'clock when it breaks, but no. This year I was like, you never know what's going to happen now.
It want to be there when it ends.
It just happened to put a lot more confidence in not knowing, and all those things. So.
But no, that's. I mean, I'm a little differently wired. I spent a whole daggum season hunting public land 15 years ago, first getting into public land hunting without hearing a gobble. And I hunted almost every morning.
Yeah.
And it just ate at me until I figured out how to hunt public land. It's different. It's different than private land. And the private land we hunt ain't a deer camp. It is 80 acres, and I've talked about it before, 80 acres with a yellow gate, and started with a handful of turkeys and got down to one, and then I hunted that one for 83 times.
Yeah.
And but that's all we had, and that private land turkey is the smartest I've ever, or the hardest I've hunted. I'd say. But there's several public land ones and I don't want anybody to get it twisted. Public land turkeys are an elite of their own.
Yes.
They are turkeys at the end of the day, and they do work the same. And a private land turkey can spot you just as easily as a public land bird can spot you. I mean, but you're going to play them, one-on-one, man-to-man. Public land turkeys got your playbook, period.
They've seen it and done it.
And there ain't nothing you can throw at them today and have thrown at them. And I jokingly, non-jokingly say, public land in Mississippi or in the South is a little different than everywhere else. Folks are serious. Folks grew up here knowing this like the back of their hand. Mm-hmm. They take it personally. That's their turkey. Right. That's their area. You can get on a 2-year-old on March 15th, and it's been hunted several times. Yeah. Kind of like, just because you get there early or get there early in the season, early in the morning, does not mean you're going to have an upper hand. There are no upper hands down here on public land, usually.
Yeah, no.
And a lot of, and I'll say, I've mentioned at the beginning that some of the easier, smoother, script-written hunts I've been on public land. Still the prettiest hunt I've ever been on to this day was the first turkey I ever killed on public land. Mm-hmm. And it was in a formerly flooded river bottom up in North Mississippi. Beautiful, exactly how you think open timber looks in the beginning months of spring and in the early days of March, and just the chalk white head coming through. The turkey came 150 yards strutting the whole way, and I could see him the whole time because it was just wide open. Mm-hmm. And I got in there like 5 o'clock, and he was like gobbling. Okay. And so I was able to get to him. But preface that with the year that I had to figure it out, I went a whole year without hearing one gobble.
Right.
And it wasn't until after that season and before the season I wound up killing him on opening day that I learned how to navigate through and find turkeys, and more importantly, find areas where turkey hunters aren't as willing to go, but turkeys can get into easily, which the big separator there is wings,
Right.
What turkeys can cross is a lot different than what a human can cross comfortably, I guess so to speak. So. But in a nutshell, I pretty much found all these places I can cross over these creeks and get, if I can find a spot that's got creeks, a set of parallel creeks, road and road, there's ways, like that guy proved. A mile's walk in the woods ain't nothing. That ain't going to get you out of the woods necessarily, figuratively. Yeah. I mean, that ain't going to get you set apart from everybody. Everybody can walk a mile. That ain't that hard. It's getting in the spots where folks, A, wouldn't think the turkey would be, and B, would have a hard time getting to or getting back out of, or really narrowing it down. What I started, just really going down to the micro analyzing it. Where can I get that's hard to get to that can still hear turkeys? So not only have folks maybe not hunted this area, folks have not hunted around here to hear the turkey to hunt. So I didn't hunt that area, but I hunted an area that I could hear from there.
Yeah.
So it's and wound up being some miles up in there, multiple miles,
Right.
but kind of by accident more. I just kept going and going and going. I had nothing to do,
Yeah.
figuring that out. And then, but when the time came, I had kind of figured out my way to get up across these creeks, and I'm talking deep creeks, like not walk across creeks.
Right.
Logs that I'd marked and figured out how to get to and which ones I could take to get across it. And if I did hear one, I could get to him. I'm sure a lot of folks have heard some of the turkeys, but
Yeah.
getting to them was a whole new ball game. You
Right.
know?
Knowing you got to walk 400 yards up
Or
here to
just,
find this one
yeah,
stick
I was
across.
gonna say, they're walking left and right trying to find a spot to get across,
Yeah.
or call the turkey to that creek like everybody else probably done.
Right.
And just figuring out a way to that's preparation.
Yeah.
That's why I say none of them are easy, because that's a lot of work. Probably more work than any went into that one.
Absolutely.
That happened to come off the roost and shot him. I think it was 7:01,
Gee.
which is I don't know what time sunrise is, but it's right there at it.
Right. Yeah.
And it was smooth as it could be.
Mm-hmm.
Heard him on limb, tree up twice, hammered another 50 times, flew down, hammered 50 more times, strutting all the way through me, shot me 25.
Yeah.
So that turkey was easy. No, buddy, you should have been in here in May 30th, a month after the season closed, trying to find this spot.
Right. Right.
With and I'm talking about through some cottonmouths and all kinds of stuff and humid, mosquitoes, everything. 9 months from being able to hunt this turkey, or however many months that is. The work gets put in, but it's like you said, like you started out, and when you come across one, that's something I kind of, like you mentioned, you hear one, do you go check on him? Do you go find more?
Right.
My go-to is find more, because
find more.
the last thing you can trust is a public land turkey, and the second to last thing you can trust is a public land turkey hunter. Kind of deal. It's kind of whatever they're telling you, you can believe it, but
Right.
I know too many of them. And it's a whole new ballgame. It's fun. I like it. I enjoy it mostly because we grew up without a ton of private land to hunt.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like we got a farm or a plantation kind of in our backyard. We can just raise them and manage it, this and that. We might have one or two at the little spot we had since we were kids, but it kind of had to duke it out on who got to shoot it, so to speak.
And those birds were normally, if you did kill him, it was like, gosh.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't just, it was me or you hunting it. It was me, you, Breck, and Dad, and whoever the neighbors might be.
Whoever heard him from the blacktop, probably.
Yeah, like this is one of them areas that gets hit by a lot of folks. Let's just
Yeah, you're in the hub of it.
Right. So.
And you can hear the whole place from the road.
Yes.
It ain't no big place we're talking about.
And we're talking 30-acre blocks. It's
you
80
see a truck
acres
parked
total.
there.
Yeah.
I wonder why he's parked there.
Right.
Kind of deal. Wait till I don't see that truck and pull over and listen, and who knows.
Are you talking about a private land?
Yeah,
or
I'm talking about private land.
Yeah.
But no, on public, that's what I'm saying. I kind of like it because I got the right to hunt a lot of it.
Right.
That's something we're not used to, and you just gotta learn how to not necessarily work it, but deal with it, understand what to expect, and it's I wouldn't even say there's not a bunch of. There is a bunch of unexpected. Don't expect anything out of the turkeys, because I've seen them do some wild things through some thickets and ditches and culverts and stuff like that. I've seen a lot of odd things go on in the turkey woods and public lands, and that's across the board, not just Mississippi. Something out west, I'm like, okay, make me eat my words here, but pretty sharp out there too. But especially later in the season and stuff. But like I mentioned, that it's almost like none of them have never been hunted. They're born hunted.
They're born hunted,
if that makes sense. And they know every little play in the playbook. And you can be perfect and it still not work.
Yeah.
And that's because of outside forces, outside factors, parameters that can affect you byproduct of what they're doing. And which I've had a couple run-ins with folks on actively hunting and stuff. More times than not, it's hearing a call really close to me and making a point to make sure they know me. Walking towards it, like if it's on a road or something, making sure I can kind of get out on the road 100 yards down and see, and I'll see them or something,
Yeah.
like wave my hands, you know. I mean, I've talked to some of them, walked out with them. They're always nice, but, you know, and I've been in the bad spot like you were in, like pulling up where you know there's a turkey and it drives you crazy. And,
Yeah.
but, you know, there's been ways I can pull down one ridge and still hunt that turkey, and at the same time, like, if I was that guy, I'd be on that ridge. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not going to know, and imagine them not knowing you're there and stuff, and you never want to get into a dangerous situation like that. But
Right.
no,
I did go back in there a week or so later
Yeah.
and got on another turkey, but it ended up being just like a man of a Jake. He
Mhm.
came in 10 yards from me, but full gobble, everything, you know, acted like a hard-earned
Mhm.
bird. And I heard another guy, and I mean, I was already sat down. That turkey was right on top of
Mhm.
him at one point. I heard the other guy calling. I mean, we're 300 yards
Yeah.
apart at this point. And then I, you know, kind of was like, this is a rerun of what happened last weekend, you know, or whatever with that other bird. And the turkey, I was like, this is kind of cool getting to listen to this turkey and this other guy call. I wasn't necessarily trying to pull him off of him or nothing like that. I was just, you know, at that, when I realized it was another hunter in there, I just sat down and got quiet.
Mhm.
And turkey walked right up to him and just gobbled 20 times. And
Mhm.
I'm like, he's got to be like within, that guy got to be asleep or something
Yeah.
at this point from where I pinpointed him. And, you know, this is from 300 or 400 yards. So, I mean, it's hard to tell exactly, but I'm like, that guy's got to see this turkey. And so after an hour or two, I hadn't heard nothing. So then I called, and that turkey was about halfway between us at that point. He came in just like he did the other
Mhm.
guy, and he had about a 2-inch
Really?
beard. And I was like, that's why he didn't shoot.
And
You
that's
know,
why
that
he's
makes,
gonna be real hard to hunt next year.
yeah, it makes a lot of sense. But, you know,
They're educated.
that's the only other turkey I heard the rest of the year. So
Yeah.
somebody got the other long
Yeah.
beard, or he flew across a river or a creek or something and got on some
Mhm.
private. I don't know what you want to say, but, you know, I hunted that place a lot this year.
Yeah.
And that turkey I killed out in the morning was the only one I
Mhm.
really set up on, other than a Jake or two here and there.
Yeah, which me and Seals hunted a couple. I know he and Jordan Blissett hunted the same little patch, and then I went and hunted it by myself one morning before heading back to Georgia. And they're pretty. I think Jordan wound up killing one in the same little area, second week maybe, in the first week or something like that. But pretty sharp jakes up in there, I think.
Yeah.
They gave us a run around, and some of them were long beards here and there. And I'm like, I'm getting scolded by some jakes right here, but we'll talk about that when Seals gets here and hit on some of those. But and we're going to talk about some more specific public land theories we got. I guess you'd say. I wouldn't say just advice or anything like that. I don't want the turkeys to have my playbook. I don't want necessarily the thousands of people to also know my playbook, so to speak. But I'm not, partial or against sharing all kinds of tips I've learned. Mostly lessons I've learned the hard way, that if you hunt public land long enough, and sometimes within at least the first season, you're going to learn them eventually.
Right.
And I can help save you some heartache by telling you what I've done that didn't work and what not to do. But I think the moral of all of it is, if you're going to hunt turkeys, period, but specifically on public land, the tide's going to turn a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to get good, and it's going to get bad. It's going to get good, and it's going to get bad. It's going to get really good, and it's going to get really bad.
Right.
You just got to be on a tree in the woods when the tide turns back to good.
Yeah.
And if you're there, good things happen. And that's the only golden ticket that I've found in turkey hunting, is go turkey hunting.
Yeah.
That's all. I mean, it's going to cure all the bads. Whatever you need to polish up on, you polish it up with turkey hunting. Whatever you think you're too good at, go turkey hunting.
You'll get corrected.
You'll realize you're not.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. I mean, it's just the fix all. It's just being out there. And when things ain't good, if you're turkey hunting, they'll get good eventually. And
Eventually, yeah.
you riding a good way, you keep going.
Right.
It's gonna turn. So,
Yeah.
but that's what makes it fun. That's why I love it, at least. And I know that's what keeps folks coming back left and right, time and time again, after the first.
Yeah.
But luckily, that ain't gonna change.
Yeah. I'm gonna stay the same.
Yep, and turkey's gonna stay smart. Well, after we're gone.
Well, after we're gone, I agree.
But good deal.
Well,
We'll wrap this up. We're hitting on an hour, so we'll wrap it up, and then might be able to cram in a couple more episodes a day, so we can get to pumping these out more and more. If y'all hadn't, listeners, if y'all hadn't caught on yet, I don't know what episode this is going to be, but we're really kind of going over all these hunts that we went through the past year, and then coming out weekly on the YouTube channel. So if you're hearing this on driving to work or something, this originally aired on our YouTube channel a day or so before with a video alongside. And if you are watching this on the YouTube channel, just know that if for any reason you can't watch it on if you are driving to work, I don't necessarily would advise you to watch it, but you can still, I think, listen to it, you know, on the audio side. But if not, you can always listen to it on Spotify, Apple, any of those things. And we appreciate any reviews y'all give us, because that really helps propel us and makes all this time we're taking out of our Sunday right now to produce something like this. And I say produce, it's roughly produced, but we invest a lot of time. We invest a lot of our, you know, family time, some money, not a lot, but at the same time, a lot goes into just making an episode, and we do it for the sake of talking about turkey hunting. We like to do it. We don't have really sponsors or anything like that. That's, you know, pumping money into us to make these things. So we do it. I wouldn't say out of the goodness of our heart, because we want to do it anyway.
Yeah.
It ain't for anybody, but I know it's something we want to do regardless. But I know that I listen to a lot of other podcasts, and I always try to kind of pay it forward and giving them good reviews, giving them 5 stars and stuff like that, and sharing it. You can share it by word of mouth. Social media shares is the biggest help of all, probably,
Right.
just reaching bigger audiences and growing the audience and growing the target market. But if you just tell a friend, I mean, I'm ecstatic.
Yeah.
That's good enough for me. I really appreciate all y'all who have already done that, and hope y'all continue to do so, and shoot some feedback on stuff y'all like to hear more of, or stuff we could work on, or anything of that sort. So, but yep, we'll wrap this one up, and then we'll catch y'all again on next week's episode of the Spring Legion Podcast.